Hey there, friends and enemies, Jopa here again, and today I want to go over some of the recent video game news we've gotten because it's pretty massive. There's a lot of games that are in flux that I want to talk about, whether they're going forward or not, what the state of these various studios is, because it's kind of insane right now. But first off, I do want to say my heart goes out to all the video game developers who have lost their jobs recently. It's just such an unfortunate time in the video game industry. We're seeing record profits, but in order to maximize that, we have C-suites making the decision to cut these developers, which likely is going to hurt the video game industry long term. Hopefully this leads to more of the independent / AA studios that really take care of their employees, and also maybe the video game developers eventually unionizing, because I think that could be a massive step forward. But yeah, hopefully everyone lands on their feet and is able to find jobs before they really struggle over the long term. But jumping into the actual video games, first off, I want to talk about EA, which laid off a bunch of people and also announced that a bunch of the games are being canceled that were already in the works. First off, the one that hits home the most for me personally is the Star Wars Mandalorian game, and we were finally going to have the Bounty Hunter game we've been looking forward to. Star Wars Outlaws looks like a lot of fun. Star Wars Jedi, that series is very good, but I just wanted a Mandalorian Bounty Hunter style game, and knowing that it was so close yet so far is just really unfortunate. And hopefully it does happen down the line. EA did mention that they're going to be reducing the amount of licensed games they're doing going forward just because of how expensive it can be. We learned from the Insomniac leaks that those games are insanely expensive for these developers, so it's no surprise that these are being cut. However, one interesting thing to note is that EA is still going forward with their Star Wars Jedi series, the third iteration of that. And then also we're going to see a Black Panther and Iron Man game from EA still as well. Unless those get eventually canceled also, which at this rate could definitely happen. I hope it doesn't. I think they could do very, very cool things with a Iron Man game as well as Black Panther, as long as they're single player standalone stories. But we'll have to wait and see. They could do a bunch of microtransactions in that, and it could really fall apart there as well. But if they follow suit with what they've done with the Star Wars Jedi series, I think it could be very good. Now, sticking with EA for just a second, we also learned that Dragon Age Dreadwolf, a game that I am definitely looking forward to, looks to be releasing in 2024 still. Everyone's confident that's going to be the case, which I think would be awesome. It could be an absolute banger of a title to release towards the end of the year, heading into the Christmas season. So hopefully that does happen. Now, some other information that we did learn. This is going to be dealing with Embracer Group, the bane of the existence of the video game industry. Just an absolute horror show of a company that hopefully ends up falling apart as the developers are able to find other spots. The actually dev companies are able to, the studios are able to find ways out of what they're dealing with in regards to Embracer Group, because it's been so bad lately. First off, we know that Saber Interactive is going to reacquire itself from Embracer Group for like $500 million, which is crazy, and it intends to continue the Knights of the Old Republic remake, a game that I think could be absolutely awesome. So at least we are still getting several Star Wars games. Knights of the Old Republic remake, we have Star Wars Outlaws, and we do have the Jedi series as well. So that's cool. At least we're still getting those games. But yeah, Embracer continues to be an absolute mess, and hopefully this is the beginning of the end for them, as long as some of these studios can land into a good spot. Then we have Gearbox, which the developers of one of my favorite franchises with Borderlands. I'm a massive looter shooter fan, and it does sound like they are going to be making a decision on how to separate themselves from Embracer as well in the near future. What that means remains to be seen. The likely situation was one of three options. One, they stay where they are. Two, they actually are able to find another company that buys them out from their Embracer Group contract. Or three, we do see them spin off and go independent as well, which seems unlikely with how much Embracer Group invested in them, they were very expensive to acquire. They really tried to do a lot of publishing over at Gearbox on top of just developing games, and I think that led to them being spread too thin. So hopefully they kind of reel it back in, really focus on the games that they can really deliver, because I think there's a lot of potential there. We have Borderlands 4 coming out, which we know will likely be ramping up its advertisement cycle, marketing cycle, and everything like that with the Borderlands movie. Borderlands 4 might release this year, although I feel like that's unlikely. I would imagine it's in 2025. However, with Monster Hunter Wilds and GTA 6 next year, you might not want to release too many games in 2025. So if they can get it out in 2024, maybe that would be for the best. We know that the Tiny Tina's sequel is coming out at some point as well, and that was a game that I really enjoyed initially. Yes, post-launch it struggled, but I do think there's a foundation for a really exciting franchise there, and there is room for them to develop additional games. We've seen it in the past with games like Battleborn, which didn't do all that great, but I do feel like there is potential for them to make other games outside of the Borderlands franchise as well. So hopefully they continue to do that and focus on the things that they do best. But overall, that's going to be the major news from Gearbox. I do hope that they are able to get away from Embracer Group sooner rather than later, because if you didn't know, when they had some issues with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands post-launch, they did put down some restrictions on Borderlands 4 as far as budget and as far as development, and they were forced to do layoffs and a bunch of other things. So hopefully that gets course corrected once they're able to leave Embracer Group. That would be very, very awesome. And yeah, overall, those are the major things that I wanted to talk about today. I think there's a lot going on with looter shooters as well as superhero and other sci-fi type video games, and that's really my bread and butter on this channel. So I'm really excited about the future of these games. I think there's a lot upcoming that could be really cool. We know that a Wolverine game is coming out. We know that there's a potential for a Venom game in the future. Star Wars games galore. We got superhero games, especially these single player narrative type stories. I think could be really the sweet spot for superhero games instead of going the live service route after seeing the unfortunate results of Marvel's Avengers, as well as the current situation with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. So Star Wars is another thing. Hopefully we see another Battlefront in the future. I don't know if that'll be the case, but we did see the perfect Star Wars type of game launch with Helldivers 2 and really show the path for future Star Wars content, potentially in a multiplayer aspect that could be really, really cool. Imagine Helldivers, but in the Star Wars universe with PvP. They could do a great job with that, so we'll see. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Definitely helps out. Shows you want to see more videos like this in the future. I know this one was a little bit different from what I normally do, so if you like the video, again, like, comment, subscribe. It does help me out tremendously and shows the type of content you want to see from me going forward. Have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.